All right, now number three. This one is kind of tricky, and this one, the purpose of this particular section is I want the people who have never purchased a property before to understand some of the little minutia things that you have to do when you take over a property that you just don't think about. They don't teach you in the classes, except this class, that, oh boy, I better be ready for this. And sometimes you might need to be ready for an additional charge as well. So, okay, Jason, you're about to buy the property, and you've got the utilities, and also for those of you that have some properties that are individually metered, but is landlord paid, like I owned, that was a big shocker as well. So Jason, well, how do you got a week to go before you close on the property? You got to start thinking about the utilities. What do you do?
First thing is to have an operating fund to be prepared for the cost, right? So found that out the hard way. Well, if you go to take over, say, a 50-unit apartment building and transfer those utilities, the utility company is going to say, thank you, we would like to have a deposit for this account. And if you're not prepared for that, then that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So with some of those, depending on, especially if you're doing an older property where the utilities are all together, it could be a significant amount of money depending on what county you're in and how the utilities run. So that's number one. Other than that, just start having conversations with those utility companies, seeing what you can do. I have had some success with them allowing me to put them as almost like a beneficiary on a CD of a bank. So instead of actually having to turn the money over to them, I'll say, I'll just leave the money in the bank and I will give you access to this certificate of deposit so that, if something happens, you can, because I just don't like turning over money to somebody else. And
yeah. Douglas.
We used to do this really good until the very last building we purchased. We try to get a hold of the utility companies around here. It's water, sewer, gas, and electrical that you need to take ownership of. The last building, the 17-unit building, we went through the same thing. We got a hold of Consumers Energy. We got a hold of the Board of Water and Light. But for reasons that I still can't understand, the prior owner put in a shutoff order instead of a transfer order. So after closing, there's a man out in the street staring at the 17-unit building, turning his crank to shut off the water in the middle of the afternoon on a Friday afternoon to this building. And of course, the trigger of that was incredible. I mean, you have, the water heater automatically shuts off and can't be relit until it's all knows that life is good. Everybody's without water. They're without, the boiler shuts down because there's no more feed of water into the boiler. It has a safety switch on it. So he crippled the building. I for the life of me, the utility company knew we were coming. They knew we were new owners, and for some reason the crew didn't know that. So that was horrific. That was our first day of ownership, and we lost some mileage because of that. We spent an awful lot of time the next 2 or 3 days at the building, apologizing to people. I didn't have an explanation for why, like I said, and I couldn't promise them,
Oh, did we lose him? Did we just lose Doug? All right, Ashley, why don't you jump in there?
Just going off of what Doug was saying, he brings up valid points. And the only other point I would add is that utility companies will charge an additional fee when it's a shutoff and they have to restart it as opposed to a transfer. So that's another issue too that makes the problem even worse. So that's just something to be aware of, but I agree with everything that everyone's been saying. And it's important to proactively change over the utilities, just to make sure that there are no issues when you're closing.
We had a 135 unit, all bills paid, individually metered property. That meant we got 135 bills, separate bills. and we had to pay, and they were in their system, and our accounting department had to put that in every single month. And there was some particular account where the account numbers were transposed or something. And this account kept getting shut off every single month. We couldn't figure out what was wrong. We couldn't fix it. And for some reason, the guy shows up from the utility company, shows up at the management office. I'm going to shut down shut down the utilities for that unit. What are you talking about? We just paid all the utilities. This one still hasn't been paid yet. And it's all got to do with, just some screw up with the utility companies, but it happened all the time. It was a nuisance. So, and I like what Mike Butler says, that Bob Bryanton says, never close on a Friday. Because can you imagine, like, I can't wait for Doug to get back here, but having to sit there with a property that doesn't have any water for an entire weekend, that is just hell on wheels.